Hello everyone, you're welcome to the part 3 of building a REST API using Rust and Axiom. And in this part, we'll learn how to separate our concerns, that is, separate certain functions like the DB connection pool into their specific files and folders. And without wasting much time, let's get right into it. So the first thing that we'll do in this lesson is to separate our DB connection pool, and there are several ways of creating a module. Module are just collection of code, specific codes. So I'll create my module here, call it mode DB. So the keyword mode is just module. If you can see the error here to create the module DB. So you can either create it in the root folder or you create the DB folder first and you create a mod.rs that can hold several files or several other sub modules. So I'll press my code action. So if you press your code action in your VS Code, you have something similar to this, but this is in Vim. We can either create the module at db.rs directly in the source folder, or we create module at db folder, then we create a mod.rs. So I'll choose one and I'll create this. And if I open my Explorer, you'll see the db.rs here. Cool. So we can cut this. I'll cut this and I'll go to my db.rs. Then I'll write public async. We want to make it publicly accessible. Then function initDB. Then this will take in a database underscore URL, which will be a reference to a string. And this will return a PG pool. And we can paste this here, like so. I'll delete the name and we can remove the trailing semicolon and we bring in our PG pool options, like so. And the error is gone. So if I go back to my main, I'll close this and we can declare a new variable called db pool, which will be equals to initDB, init_db. Let's activate this code. initDB, we can bring this in, and this will take a database URL. Then we can await, like so. And keep in mind that in the initDB, we said it should receive a reference. So we will add the ampersand here, like so. And I'll change this to db pool, like so. And the error is gone. So we can clean up this. And also remove the PG options here, like so. And if we run cargo.run, everything should still work as expected. So the next thing that we will do is to create a models folder. So we'll create a models folder that can hold several other models. So I'll come here and I'll write models. It should be in plural. So if I save, I'll press my code action again. Code action, then I'll press 2. So we want to have a models folder and a mod.rs. So in this mod.rs, we can create several other mods there. So I'll press 2. And if I check my Explorer, I can see these models and the mod.rs. So in the mod.rs, I can create public mod. Again, we call it players. So this will be our players, and you can create any other model here. For example, we would be using the public mod, the user model, or let's call this player model, and we can create this. So I'll press my code action again, and I'll create the player.rs inside the models, like so. And also I'll create the user. I'll press 1. So we have the player.rs and the user.rs. So if I go to my main.rs, we can remove this player row from here, like so. I'll cut it from here and I'll paste it here. And we need to make it a public struct and also a public field, like so. We add pub here, we add pub, and we add pub here. Now you can format this. You can also bring in the serialize, there, and the error is gone. So you want to make your pub, your struct public, and the fields to public. So let's go back to the main. So we have this get players here, and the player row is giving us error. So our aim is to extract this into his own file too. So I'll come up here and I'll create 2 other modules. I'll call it mod route mounts and mod routes. So this is what we'll hold our handlers, and the route mount we hold the specific method like the get method, the post method, and whatnot. So I'll press my code action. I'll press 2, and for the route to code action, I'll press 2. Then if you come to our Explorer, you see the models folder, then you see the route mount and the routes. So you can see the pattern here. If you want to create any file under the source, you don't need the mod.rs, but if you want to create multiple subfolders into or submodules into a module, you need the mod.rs. So I'll start with my route, which is the handler. I'll create another one called public player. This will hold the player handler. I'll do my code action, then we can create a player here. So if I go back to the main, we can cut this off from here and cut it from here and come back here, then paste it here. Let's resolve all these errors. For state, I'll use state, then we need status code from Axiom. What else do we need? We need the player row. So the player row will come in as a crate adjust code. So it will come in as create.models.player.player row that we declared earlier. And we need the pg pool. And what else do we need? Let's save this for now. So we need JSON. So let's do the JSON from SETI. So if you can see this error too, is saying create route player, get players exist, but is inaccessible because we need to prefix it with the word pub, and the error is gone. Cool. So we've done the handler part. So what we want to do next is to mount it inside this route mount. I'll come to the route mount, and the reason why we want to route it here is that so that we don't turn this min.rs to a mess. We want to make it as lean as possible. We don't want to have our route method here, so that is why we're using the route mount. So I'll come to the route mount. So we can have pub mod route, then our code action, then we create a route.rs like so, and in here we can create a public pub function. We call it create route or router, whichever one. Then we can pass in our state, coming from state. Then this will return a router from Axiom. Then we can declare router the line separator.new router instance. Then we can have .route. You can call the players. So this will be the path players, whichever one, and the method will be a get from Axiom. So then we can bring in the player, the players from the route, this one. So this is the player from the route, and we want to call the with state like so. Then we pass in the state this should be a closing bracket. So what am I missing here? Okay, I think I need to close this. We have this error here, so how can we remove? So let's go back to our route. What do we call it? Okay, get players. That was my mistake. Get players, not players. Call it get players. So the only error that we have left now is this state. Let's look at how we can resolve it. Missing generic for struts. Axiom extract state. What do we have in our main? Okay, we pass the DB pool here. I see the condition pool, and this should be in our route mount. This should also be the DB pool. So instead of passing this state here, I'll come here and I'll do pool equals to pg pool like so, and we can turn this back to pool, and the error is gone. So in our route mount, where we call the method, we have the players, get players, then with the state we are passing the pool, the pg pool as a state, and this will call the get players. So I'll call the get players here, then it will come here again to insert the pg pool, then fire this query, and we can mount our app here. So we can remove this, or remove this. I don't need this again, and let's create a new instance of our app. So to mount this, we can do let app be equal to create, what did we call it? Create router, did we? Yes. Create router, then we can pass in our db underscore pool, like so, and this should come below this. Cool. So let's give it a whirl. Everything should still work as expected. Did I quit now? Okay. So we can do cargo run, and we are still connected to our server. So we can run this on our web. I'll come here, I'll do localhost 7879, then /players, and we should still have this rendered to our UI. Cool. So we've been able to separate our concerns. We have the models folder, we have the route mount and the route folder. So, and it makes and we can have a lean main.entry file. So we just have the declared variables, the connection to DB, and the listeners. As a matter of fact, let's remove these comments. So we want to remove all the unused libraries and packages, and we can move these two. What else are we not using? So we have a lean main.rs file now. We are not clogging up our main.rs. So let's do one or two other CRUD. I'll come to the routes here, which is the handler. Then we can do a create handler. So I'll close my Explorer. Can split this a bit, and we call, let me scroll up. So do public async. It's a function. Let's give it create a player, and this we also take in a state, which is going to be our PG connection pool, and this will return result status code. Then this should be a string, and also for the error we can have a status code and also a string, and we can open this code block. Cool. Just trying to follow what we have on the get player, so we can close this for now. Then let's create our row. Let row be equal to SQLX query as macro. Then we need a create player row. We can create this one in a bit. Create player row, and we can do insert into players table. And what we have here, what do we have in our players? Let's go back to, so we have the age name, and the wing. All right. So we have the name, age, and wing, and the values will be, we can pass this parameter 1, 2, and parameter 3, and we can just returning the player underscore ID. And at the end, we need to pass in the argument. But before then, let's create the input struct. So this will be of JSON from Axiom. Then we can call it player. This will be of the type of create player row. Let's call it request, or create player request instead of row. We can now pick the player dot name, then player dot, second one is age, then player dot wing. So let's create these two DTUs. So we'll go back to our models. In the player models, by the way, we have the player row here. So I can copy this and paste this. We call it player, we call it create player, if I'm correct, request. And we don't need this ID here. Then we need this realize from setting. So if we come back here, we have the create player request. If the spelling is right, we can bring this in, and instead of this create, we can remove this and turn it to player row, since we have it already. Player row. So what do we have here? We have player row mismatch type, enum turn out results, blah blah blah, expected. So let's continue. Then call the fetch one. So in our last lesson we used the fetch all. Now we're using the fetch one. Then we can pass the PG connection pool, like so. Then we can do dot await. Then you can undo the error like we did. Map error. Then we use our closure. This will take the error. And we can open this up. And this will be source code of internal server error or JSON. Then we pass success as false. Then message should be in quotes. E dot to string. Then we can call the to string finally. Then we need to close this. Afterwards, we end this by question mark and this. And let's undo the OK instance. Undo OK. And can have source code equals to OK. And JSON, call this. This will be success. Nope. Success is true. And player equals to, or data, whichever one, equals to our row, and at the end we need it to string, and we close like so. So can I hand this? What is the error here? Query player row, insert into player. Let me try to fix this error. Player row, insert into players, name, age, wing, then values, mm, $1 to $3, then returning. Let's return. Yeah, we need to return the name, age. Let's return this wing, and let's return player ID. And the next error is the source code internal error. Guessing map error. We have this source code internal error. Then we have okay. I've been able to format, and we have this code. Let's go through it one by one. We have a public async function create a player. Then it will take into parameters. One is the state, which is a PG pool. The second one is the input struct that we want to take from the request body from your client, e.g. from your Postman or from your mobile app. So we have the let row be equals to the SQLX query as, then we want to insert into the row, and this will be a player row response, and you need to return the name, age, wing, and player ID. And if you don't want to return everything, you can use the optional here. You can make this return type optional, this player row, so you can map it to a optional, but we want to return everything, the name, age, wing, and player ID. So that's why we are returning everything here. And we are fetching one, passing it, and then passing the state, which is the PG connection pool. We can also change this one to PG pool. Let's just rename this. I'll rename this from PG connection pool to just PG. So we have the PG, then we need to await it. Then in the case of error, we have this error handler, and in the case of success, we have this success. I hope that makes sense. So let's give this a, well, we have create player. We can go to our route mount, then we can duplicate this, Y and P. This is going to be a post request, and we call it create player. We need to pass the state and the body, and that will be all. So we need to bring in the post from Axum, post method from Axum, and the error is gone. So let's remove this unused imports, and we can run our app again. So we have server is running on port 7879. So let's go to our client. We turn this to players. This is going to be a post request. get players, and we don't need this, we don't need this. And if I do restaurant, oh, our port is 7879. So let's run it again. So we have this. I'll put 3 comments here. Then we have our post, HTTP localhost 7879. Then we have players again. Then the content type, and spell type should be application /JSON. Then we can have a name as Salah and age should be in quotes, and you have 8 and wing as play position, say 10. Let me format this very well, and we can run. We have player, what do we have? A player, age 8, Salah, and if we run this up here, do we have Salah here? Yeah, so we have this Salah here as player ID number 3. So our create endpoint is working. So in this lesson, we've been able to establish how to separate our concerns, and we created the create endpoint. In order not to make this video long, in this class, we jump straight right into creating a user, how we can create a password, which will be hash, and how we can generate token. If you enjoyed this video, please do well to leave a like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.